I'll say it as a fan and nothing else. This 2026 season for the Cleveland Browns is the most nerve-wracking stretch I have seen in years. We are officially looking at a major turning point for the roster as the front office evaluates contract extensions for core players like Grant Delpit, Deshaun Watson, Malik Collins, and Cedric Tillman. These men are playing for their financial futures, and how they perform will define the trajectory of this entire organization for the next decade. And honestly, the more details come out, the harder it is to ignore what is going on behind the scenes. Smash that like button, subscribe, and comment your name and city below so I know who is riding with me. Let's get into it. The Cleveland Browns are officially entering a critical stretch of the 2026 season as the organization faces a pivotal series of contract decisions regarding several key roster staples. We are now just over 1 month away from kickoff, and the front office has a massive task ahead in determining which players have truly earned their keep for the future of this team. While new faces in the building provide a sense of stability, players like Grant Delpit, Deshaun Watson, Malik Collins, and Cedric Tillman find themselves under the microscope during this vital evaluation period. Delpit remains an anchor in our secondary, yet his stats reflect a slight regression that makes his projected 4-year, $60 million extension a topic of intense debate. And I cannot stress this enough. The quarterback situation is the most pressing narrative we face this summer. With Watson looking to prove he can return to his Houston form while battling Shadir Sanders for the starting job, the memory of his $230 million deal complicates how we view his potential 2-year, $18 million extension prediction. Older veterans like Collins must prove age is just a number to secure his $14 million deal, while Tillman faces a steep climb to earn his $12 million contract given the influx of new receiver talent. Fans are understandably anxious as we look at these numbers, weighing past production against the harsh reality of the salary cap. The emotional weight of these potential investments hits us hard because we are so desperate to see sustained success on the field this year. As we examine these financial projections, we must ask ourselves if these players can actually return to the levels of performance that justify such significant commitments, or if the team should pivot toward a younger path entirely. The most jarring reality facing our organization today is that Deshaun Watson, despite his massive $230 million guaranteed contract from 2022, is currently fighting for his very survival as our starting quarterback during this training camp. This situation marks a pivotal turning point because the front office is clearly prioritizing competition over reputation, forcing a difficult battle between Watson and Shadir Sanders that carries far more weight than a typical preseason roster move. After missing the entire 2024 season due to injury, Watson must now replicate his past production from his time in Houston to prove he belongs under head coach Todd Monken. And honestly, the history of this franchise suggests that we have been down this road before with high-priced talent. But the current front office seems determined to avoid past mistakes by keeping every roster spot earned rather than handed out. If he cannot hold off his competition, the financial ripple effects could impact the team's ability to extend key pieces like Grant Delpit, who is looking for a pay bump toward top 10 safety money after 5 years of service. It is a balancing act for the front office as they weigh the cost of veteran leadership against the need for fresh, cheaper production on the defensive line with Malik Collins at age 31. Collins managed 6.5 sacks in his 12 games last year, proving he still has the veteran savvy to contribute. Yet management is likely viewing his 2-year, $14 million extension prediction through a lens of extreme fiscal caution. We are seeing a shift in philosophy under Jimmy Haslam, where long-term sustainability is finally taking precedence over immediate, expensive fixes. And that internal perspective is exactly what we have been waiting for as we navigate this challenging upcoming season together. The clock is officially ticking toward the 2026 season, and for those of us who have followed this team for decades, the stakes have never felt more personal or precarious. We are looking at a roster transition that will define the organization for years to come, as several key veterans must prove their worth to secure their futures here under head coach Todd Monken. Think about it this way. The salary cap is an unforgiving master, and our ability to retain talent like Grant Delpit, who is looking for a 4-year, $60 million extension, relies entirely on production during the upcoming 17-game stretch. With Maliek Collins needing to prove his value at age 31 and Deshaun Watson fighting to justify a 2-year, $18 million extension against incoming competition, the depth chart is currently in a state of flux. This directly impacts our preparation for critical early season tests against the Ravens and Bengals, where every snap matters for our playoff positioning. If our veteran leaders fail to elevate their performance, we risk losing ground to our division rivals who are already aggressively reshaping their own rosters. The addition of younger players means the margin for error has evaporated, and we need guys like Cedric Tillman to emerge as reliable options if we expect to stay competitive. If these veterans cannot deliver, the front office will have little choice but to move on, fundamentally altering the identity of this franchise. Success this year is not just about wins. It is about establishing a sustainable core that Jimmy Haslam can trust to lead us deep into January. Every game serves as a trial, and the pressure on these specific players to deliver consistent, high-level results will determine whether we remain a legitimate threat in a crowded conference or begin a period of painful, unavoidable rebuilding. With the 2026 season looming, we face a pivotal crossroads regarding key roster extensions that will define our future under head coach Todd Monken. The strongest argument for retaining talents like Grant Delpit and Maliek Collins rests on the continuity and veteran leadership they provide to our defensive unit. Delpit offers reliable power in the secondary, while Collins remains a disruptive force despite his age, providing the kind of stability that is often difficult to replace in the open market. However, we must acknowledge the significant downside. Committing substantial salary cap space to players at these stages of their careers carries real risk, especially when looking at the lingering financial shadow of Deshaun Watson and the uncertain potential of younger players like Cedric Tillman. Let's be real, the front office is navigating a minefield where one bad contract could stifle our ability to build around new pieces. Around the league, analysts are watching this situation closely. Some suggest the Browns should aggressively lock up Delpit to his projected 4-year, $60 million deal to secure the secondary, while others argue that the battle between Deshaun Watson and Shader Sanders for the quarterback job makes any long-term extension for the signal caller premature and risky. Here's where I land on this. I suspect the hype surrounding a potential Tillman breakout to a 6-touchdown season is likely overblown given the crowded receiver room, and we should prioritize the defense over speculative offensive production. Investing heavily in proven defensive commodities like Delpit seems far more prudent than chasing uncertain offensive stats. Our success depends on Jimmy Haslam and the front office making these cold, calculated decisions rather than operating on sentimentality. We need to focus on what produces wins on the field today, while maintaining the flexibility to pivot if these veterans do not deliver on their high price tags. As we look ahead to the 2026 season, the Cleveland Browns stand at a defining crossroads where fiscal discipline meets roster development. This upcoming campaign is not merely about wins and losses, but about establishing a long-term identity under coach Todd Monken that rewards proven performers while moving on from high-priced uncertainty. What makes this even bigger is the fact that our front office now has the breathing room to retool the secondary with Grant Delpit or reshape the trenches through Maliek Collins, provided they hit their performance targets. We should feel a sense of cautious optimism heading into the summer months because this transition period allows us to identify who truly values the badge over a big paycheck. The potential extension for Delpit highlights a desire to stabilize our defensive core, while the quarterback situation involving Deshaun Watson and Shader Sanders serves as a necessary test for our organizational accountability. We need these veterans to step up and prove their worth, as their success will directly dictate the financial flexibility required to build a perennial contender under Jimmy Haslam. Whether Cedric Tillman can carve out a meaningful role among a crowded receiver room remains a fascinating subplot to watch during training camp battles. The path forward is clear: perform at a high level or prepare for a change in scenery. It is a blue-collar approach for a blue-collar city that demands nothing less than absolute commitment on every single snap. With this diverse group of players fighting for their future in Northeast Ohio, I have to ask you, do you believe Deshaun Watson will ultimately secure the starting job over Shader Sanders this August? If you enjoyed the video, do not forget to like it and subscribe to the channel. Dawg Pound. I'll see you in the next one.